Friends, have you ever felt that when one door closes, 100 others seem to shut right behind it? This is a story about a man who faced exactly that, but found his miracle in the most unexpected way imaginable. It began with a strange pain in his left eye. A doctor told him it was pressure from his nerves. Day by day, his eye began to bulge, pushing outwards. He told me, for a month, my eye just kept getting bigger. It became so noticeable that people would stare. It was large, protruding, and frankly, it looked unsettling. He was a man in his 60s, and this condition made him a target for constant, uncomfortable glances on the street. He went to every doctor he could find in his home country. He then traveled to big, specialized hospitals, but the answer was always the same. Nothing could be done. Even at the world-renowned King Khalid Eye Hospital in Saudi Arabia, the verdict was crushing. You just have to live with it. Desperate, he started giving more in charity, praying fervently, and begging God to guide him to a cure. One day, he found himself in a neurologist's office, hoping the problem might be in his brain. A man from another country sat beside him and, after a brief chat, said, "You really should see an eye doctor." He explained he'd already seen them all. The man then mentioned, "Russia is famous for eye operations. Why don't you try going there?" At first, he dismissed the idea. "I don't know anything about Russia," he thought. After the neurologist also told him there was no solution, he went home feeling defeated. He shared the stranger's suggestion with his children. They encouraged him, saying, "Dad, if Russia is known for this, why not go? Maybe God will open a door for you there." These countries have different kinds of experience. He asked if one of them could accompany him, but their schedules were packed. Determined, he decided, "I'll go alone." With limited English and not a single word of Russian, he embarked on this daunting journey. He flew to Moscow, where he managed to find some Arabs living there and asked for directions to an eye hospital. They pointed him to a medical center, but after another round of tests, the story was the same. The doctors shook their heads. There was nothing they could do. As his hope decreased, one of the Arab translators offered a sliver of light. "I've seen a case like yours before," he said. "The treatment is in another city, about 1,500 kilometers from Moscow." He explained how to get there. A long journey involving 3 separate trains, starting with train 17, then 18. He bought the tickets and made his way to the station, his heart a mix of hope and anxiety. But in the chaos and confusion, he made a critical mistake. He boarded the wrong train. One headed 700 kilometers in a completely different direction. On the train, a wave of despair washed over him, but then, he heard a familiar language. 2 men were speaking Arabic, one from Iraq, the other from Kurdistan. He moved to sit with them, and they began to talk. When they saw his eye, they naturally asked about his condition. He showed them his ticket, and their faces fell. "Brother," they said, "this is the wrong train. You'll have to wait until the next day to go back. You're going to lose 2 whole days," he told me. I felt the world closing in on me. He had covered his eye with a bandage, tired of the constant questions and stares. The man from Kurdistan tried to console him, saying gently, "Perhaps this is a blessing in disguise." In that moment of deep despair, he turned his heart completely to God. He prayed silently, "Oh God, please relieve me in this strange land. I came all this way seeking a cure. Don't let me return empty-handed." As he sat there, lost in his prayer, a man with a wooden box passed by, polishing shoes for passengers on the train. The shoe shiner paused, looked at him intently, and then said something in Russian to the Iraqi man sitting next to him. The Iraqi turned to him, his expression a mix of surprise and curiosity. "Brother," he said, "this shoe shiner says he can treat your eye for $500. He was stunned. A shoe shiner, after all the top specialists and world-famous hospitals had failed. It seemed absurd. The Iraqi reasoned, "What do you have to lose? You've already spent thousands of dollars. If he helps you, you pay. If not, you've lost nothing more." He thought about it for a moment. What other choice did he have? He agreed. The shoe shiner washed his hands meticulously and sat down in front of him. Then, he did something completely unexpected. He took off the man's shoe and sock and began pressing firmly on different spots on his left leg. The man described it vividly. When he pressed on a specific nerve, my eye bulged out even more. I yelled in pain, "Stop, stop." But the shoe shiner just said, "Wait, wait." Then he pressed another nerve, a little lower down on my leg, and suddenly, my eye started to go back in. It was a miracle. Every time the Shoshiner pressed that exact spot, his eye receded further and further, until it was completely back to its normal position. He said, "The pain in my leg was intense, but my joy was overwhelming. My eye was normal again." Overjoyed, he immediately handed the Shoshiner the $500 and, in his gratitude, kissed his head. Through the Iraqi translator, he asked the old Shoshiner where he had learned such a technique. The man explained, "During the Soviet-Afghan War, I used to treat wounded soldiers. The Afghans taught me this method of nerve-based healing. When a soldier had an eye injury, we would press the nerves in the legs until we found the one connected to the eye. When I saw your condition, it reminded me of a similar case I treated long ago. Glory be to God." Think about it. God Almighty rerouted this man's entire journey, putting him on the wrong train, just so he could meet the one person in the world who held his cure, a humble Shoshiner. This man never lost his trust in God. He kept praying, and God guided him, even through a mistake, to his healing. When you face hardship, turn to God. Thank Him, even in difficulty, and ask Him to relieve your suffering. Believe that God can heal you, because He is the one who controls your heart, your organs, and every drop of blood in your body. If He can make them work perfectly, why can't He heal them? So never, ever stop praying. Prayer can change destiny. When you are afflicted, raise your hands and ask God with a sincere heart. In the quiet of the night, pray, and call upon Him with humility. He will forgive you, He will heal you, and He will grant you what your heart desires. Thank you for watching. If this story touches you, please like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring content. See you next time.